Hey guys, so today I'm talking about insect bites and how to prevent them and how to never get insect bites. This is the type of forest area I have surrounding my property, and I have a lot of landscaping done on my property, but I'm completely surrounded by a lot of forested areas and a lot of ticks, a lot of mosquitoes, and a lot of other type of insects that will attack you quite quickly. If you're walking or hiking like I like to do, you're going to often brush up against brush and you're going to get ticks on you very quickly. I'm going to give you every possible tip I can to prevent them, and some of them will work extremely well where you'll never be bitten again by any tick or mosquito as long as you follow the guidelines exactly as I lay them out. Now, the most feared insect I have around my yard is the tick, and they are very common in that area I just showed you. If you go walking in it or you just have a quick sit down on a log, you're going to find a tick on you very quickly. Mosquitoes, yeah, mosquitoes are pretty bad in my yard too, especially in the dead of summertime. They're just everywhere. But I will say I've been bitten many times by mosquitoes, and that bothers me, but not near as much as ticks. So I'm going to go through step by step on how to prevent any of these bites from happening over a long period of summertime, and ways to prevent those ticks from even getting on you. There's a lot of tricks there, and I'm not dressed appropriately to go for a deep woods walk, but you do need to take that into account, that you need to change your dress and the way you treat your clothing. Now, in the deep south, the summers here are brutally humid and hot, and it's extremely hard to wear long pants, long shirt, hat. You'll get quickly overheated. I'm a very hot-natured person, so a lot of people maybe that are not so hot-natured, they might be able to tolerate that, but it's extremely easy to get heat stroke in the summer. So if you do have exposed skin, legs, arms, face, and neck, you want to use a deep product. Now, I have a video that I'll link right here of a natural, more natural solution, but either way, you're going to have to apply it frequently, especially if you have a massive insect problem. But specifically for mosquitoes, I'll link that video so you can see what to do if you don't like using DEET. Now, in addition to treating your skin, whether you're going the more natural route or some DEET-based product, you want to also treat your clothing, but not while you're wearing it. You want to lay them out somewhere outdoors and treat it with a sprayer, some type of pump type sprayer, because it makes it a lot easier to cover the entire clothing. This will be good for about 6 clothes washing before the permethrin, I can't hardly say that word, but before it becomes completely dissolved and out of your clothing. I would say probably 3 washes, but they say that on the label it says up to 6 washes, and it will be good for that period of time. But again, I would say 3 washes myself. But one thing I will tell you is that there's 2 types you can buy. You can buy the type that's already pre-mixed. I'll link those in the description. And also the concentrate where you mix it yourself. Now, the concentrate is better if you're going into some deep woods where you really need something that's going to repel ticks and chiggers and mosquitoes and all those things that are going to get on you. So probably depending on what your own personal circumstances are, if you're just going on a light hike in a public park, maybe you don't need a permethrin concentrate that you mix yourself. You can just use the type that you just manually spray on your clothes. Now, the type that you do purchase that's pre-mixed is going to be more expensive, and the one that you mix yourself that's a concentrate will last longer, and you can adjust the concentration yourself. But just remember that it's all depending on what your plans are. If you're planning on spending some deep woods time camping and hiking, then that's different than just a casual walk through a public state or national park. Now, I did a lot of research about this next topic, and there are a type of clothing that's insect repelling type clothing and insect protective type clothing. Some type of clothings I saw that actually have the permethrin built into the clothing. I'm not really sure how well that would work, because as I said, more washes will delete the product and it will dilute it, and eventually it'll be just like a regular pair of clothing. But if you're not like me and you're not an extremely hot-natured person, I would recommend wearing full-length pants and a full-length shirt if you can tolerate it, if you're not in an extremely hot area. Also, a wide brim hat. A baseball cap is not going to work well, because ticks and things like that, as you brush up against a branch or even falling from a tree limb, can land in your hair and find its way in there. So just remember that a very wide brim hat is going to work a lot better, and some of them actually have insect protection where you can flip it down and have it going out to your neck area, and that will help if anything does fall directly on it. And if you treated that insect barrier on your hat, it will help get them off. The permethrin will actually repel them very quickly from your hat and from the mosquito netting around the rim of your hat. Now on to another thing is, if you are wearing long pants, it's extremely critical to wear some hiking boots a little bit higher up on your calf. The higher hiking boots are, the higher the better, and it's a good idea to tuck the pants into the boots, and that will stop any crawling insects. But what's even more important is that you treat your hiking boots with a permethrin, a very concentrated amount. I will double or triple it to spray on your shoes, not necessarily on your clothes, because there could be some dermal absorption coming from your clothes, but directly on the boots where you're not going to have to worry about that, because a lot of them are waterproof anyways. But a good pair of hiking boots with double or triple or even quadruple treatment will help the things that where they get started. All of these insects a lot of times are starting, except for the mosquitoes, are starting from the ground up. And so when you walk across a fire ant bed, or you walk across a small low-lying shrub with ticks on it, that will absolutely repel them. Permethrin will work great on stopping them before they make it to that point. So just remember, double or triple treating your hiking boots is really critical. Now another rule about your hiking and camping clothes is you want to wear hiking and camping clothes that have lighter colors, like a light green, a white, a beige, where you can actually see the insects, ticks and things like that crawling on you. Your hiking pants, you don't want dark colors like reds, navies, or blacks, because actually that can attract some insects, and it's nearly impossible to see ants and ticks and things like that on you as they're crawling, especially the spiders. Sometimes if you are sitting on a log, spiders might come out and start crawling up your leg, and there's a lot of toxic spiders across the country and across the world. So just remember, lighter colors are better, and that way you can quickly see them and brush them off, even if the permethrin doesn't kill them right away. Usually that will. You'll see them moving very slowly when they come in contact with it, but just in case, make sure you wear a lighter color clothing so you're not attracted to some of those flying insects that might go directly to your skin. Now, I talked about the head with the mosquito netting on the back, but sometimes if you're in a super dense area, I know that there are parts of the world, and especially places like Alaska and the northern part of the United States, mosquito swarms can be so intense that even the best type of repellents and insecticides and DEETs is semi-effective. So wear a full face mosquito netting if you're going to be in that type of area, and it will really make a huge difference. And I would even spray the mosquito netting with the permethrin, and that will help repel them away and also keep them from just swarming right into your face. Remember, mosquitoes are attracted to the carbon dioxide we breathe out. Now, if you're in an area that has clearly made trails and things like that, you want to stay on the trail. You don't want to go off into deep grasses and places where you're brushing up against foliage and shrubs and bushes, because that is where a lot of insects will be hiding under the underside of leaves, especially the tick. That is the most dreaded thing that I've come across in the forest. I don't like ticks because I've heard of some of the terrible diseases they cause. There's a whole list of diseases that they think that tick bites can cause. So just remember, you want to be very careful. Another thing, as you're walking through the forest, where we all get tired, we want to sit down, and a log is one of the best places to sit. If you do that, throw down maybe a 2 foot by 2 foot small cloth, in a white one at that, so you can see if anything's crawling on it. When you get up, you can quickly snap it and get anything off of it. So just remember, you want to put down a cloth before you sit down on that log, because you can't see clearly what's there before you sit down. Now, I will tell you, there's a couple of things that you absolutely need to have with you to do a tick check, and you want to do that about every 1 to 2 hours while you're hiking in the woods. One, you need a mirror, because sometimes it's very hard to spot a tick that's gotten on your back and your underarm, around the back of your neck and your hair. So it's just a good idea where you can take a look and see if you do have any ticks. They're really small. They're the size, smaller than the size of your pinky nail. So just remember, you want to do this 1 to 2 hours. You want to take a careful check. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can take a cotton ball and put a little bit of Dawn dishwashing soap, put it in a small container so you can easily keep it in your backpack. You don't have to have a large bottle like this. And if you do find a tick, you can dab it on there, and the tick is said to release. Now, I've never tried that, but I have read it in several different places online. Also, there's actually a small kit you can buy online. I'll link it down below. It's got a V where you can run it up to the tick, and it's supposed to help release the tick without releasing its pinchers left in your skin. So that's one thing you want to do. You want to make sure that you get it off without leaving any part of the tick still embedded in your skin. But again, 1 to 2 checks while you're walking about every 1 to 2 hours. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in a park that has showers with hot running water, it's always a good idea to take a really hot shower after spending some time outdoors. And there are types of shampoos that have a small amount of insecticide inside the shampoo that are supposedly safe. I don't really like using anything with insecticides, but sometimes in order to get rid of them, we just have to bite the bullet and do that. So just remember, after every day out in the forest, or at the end of the day, whenever you come in, that's the first thing you should do, is take a really hot shower, and also do a final tick inspection with your mirror and make sure there's no ticks somewhere where you can't see them, like on the back of your neck and your underarm, anywhere like that. Another thing is, you want to take your clothing, take 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and soak it in there. Put it in the sink, and put all your clothes that you're wearing outdoors, put those inside the sink and pour 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, and that will kill any ticks. Obviously, you want to fill it up with water and then put the apple cider vinegar in, so you can take care of those ticks that might be embedded in your clothing that somehow made it past your DEET and your permethrins. Now, if you're staying in remote cabins or somewhere that doesn't have access to a washer and a dryer, then what you want to do at the end of every day, when you take those clothes, if you don't have a way to wash them, then put them in some type of sealed plastic bag, the type that seals up cleanly, so that way you don't have to worry about the ticks. If you throw your clothes down near your bed or couch or wherever you're staying, they can make it from that area and crawl all the way to the bed a lot faster than you think. So just remember, you need a good sealed bag to put your clothes in, just in case there's any type of insects on the clothing, specifically ticks. Now, if you have really sensitive skin and you're afraid that the DEET and the other products we're talking about might have a reaction, you might end up with a really bad rash, you can create your own spray. You can use something like peppermint oil, cedarwood oil, or lemon eucalyptus. Mix it all together and put it in a spray. Make sure you shake it, because it will separate from water. You want to put about 90% water and 10% oil into your sprayer. Something this size you can easily put into your backpack. Also remember to put it in a dark container like this, because sunlight will affect the potency of all 3 of those essential oils. So just remember, that's an important tip, is you want to keep it preserved and make it effective. Now, something like this is going to have to be applied a lot more frequently than the DEET and the permethrins, maybe once per hour, and that would be in more light areas. We're not talking about going into heavily wooded areas, but something like a park or a place like that, you're going to use something like this if you want to. Now, if you are tent camping, you want to make sure that you treat the area with something like this size sprayer, and just treat a 6 or 8 circular area that will help with the permethrin, that will help keep ticks and other insects away. Also, another thing that's good to do is to try to avoid camping in super shady areas, because ticks love those type of areas. You want to stay away from underbrush and things like that. If it's not extremely blazing, scorching hot, then try to camp out in the open sunlight, and that will definitely help, because ticks and other insects don't like to be in direct sunlight, because they get dehydrated very quickly. Now, ticks are pretty good at crawling under different types of mosquito netting, but if you are in an area that has a lot of mosquitoes around your tent, it's a good idea to put mosquito netting either inside the tent, sleep under it, or put it over the tent if you have a big enough piece. So just remember, mosquito netting is one of those things that will save you a world of problems in an overnight situation where they're able to get into your tent area. Now, a lot of people don't really think about this, but insects are also attracted to certain smells: colognes, perfumes, deodorants. You want to use everything that you do use on your camps or hikes, you want to use unscented smells, and that includes the laundry detergents. Buy unscented laundry detergents, because sometimes we can no longer smell that, but different insects can still be attracted to your clothing just from the laundry detergent you use. So unscented everything, from cologne, everything I mentioned, you want to make sure it's unscented. Now, if you're like me and you love hiking and you love being out on the trail, the best time to do that is going to be the middle of the day. Mosquitoes are most active in the early mornings, in the evenings, right before it gets dark, or right after sunset. That's the absolute worst time, and that's pretty common. Most people know that. But also, when it comes to ticks, you want to stay away from shady areas early in the morning where there's a lot of humidity, a lot of morning dew. You want to stay out of those areas until the sun comes up and it warms up a little bit, and the ticks will maybe go back a little bit further into their hiding places. But again, midday is your best time to do your hikes. Now, if you're in an area that does allow campfires, a nice smoldering, smoky campfire can push a lot of insects away from you. You can use a lot of green leaves and things like that that are not going to burn quickly, but they're going to produce a little bit more smoke. Just be careful about starting a forest fire. You want to follow all the safety practices when it comes to having a campfire. Could be summertime, but having that fire not directly near you, but just in your general vicinity, can drive a lot of things away from you, like mosquitoes. Now, this is kind of an unusual item to keep in your backpack, but it's really important. If you've ever went to the hardware store and you see the S hooks, you want to buy about a half a dozen of those to a dozen and keep it in your camping and hiking backpack. What you're going to do with those, you're going to use them to hang your gear up high from branches away from the ground, because that's where a lot of the insects can start. Spiders, ticks, things like that. And spray the branch before you hang anything with permethrin, and that will help keep them off your backpack. But just remember, it's best to store your jackets, anything you have with you, any type of gear, store it up high off the ground, at least 2 or 3 feet. Now I'm going to give you 2 items you can use internally that will produce a certain smell in your skin that can keep insects away from you. People swear by these 2 things, and I found that it's true, but even so, I still get an occasional mosquito bite. But one is a B complex, a very potent one, and to take it daily, at least a week to 2 weeks before you start your trip. The other thing is garlic. If you like garlic, you need to consume a lot of garlic right before your trip, again, 1 to 2 weeks before you leave, and that makes its way to your skin and helps produce a certain odor. So they say that some people that eat a lot of garlic are those people that never get bitten by mosquitoes. So just remember, those are 2 internal things you can use to help keep the insects away from you. Now I want to give you one of the most unconventional ways to keep ticks and other things off of you. And again, that's one of the things that I'm most frightened of in the forest is the tick, because of the diseases they carry. But if you take a pet flea and tick collar and put it on your boots, put it on your camping gear, I know some people can't tolerate the smell of them because they do put off a light odor, but having it on your boots, your gear, not on your person, don't wear it on your arm, don't wear it around your neck, but just putting it on your gear and your boots, that can be a tick repellent in itself. Now in my hiking gear, I have a product called Lime's leg gaiters, and I'll put a link to it down below, but if you wear those, that will also help prevent and repel insects away from your legs. If you're wearing even if you're wearing long pants, it will help. So just remember, there's a lot of different types of insect repelling clothing. Again, some of those that are infused with the permethrin, I'm not sure how long that actually lasts for, so I always advise mixing your own or buying the product that I'll link in the description below, because it's pre-mixed or you mix it yourself. And like I said earlier, the one you mix yourself, you can make it super concentrated if you're going into a heavily wooded area. So guys, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any questions about this video, any suggestions, any ideas you've tried that worked for you for ticks, mosquitoes, and other insects, please leave a description down below, because I would love to add that to my list of potential ways to keep the insects off of you when you're in the deep forest. Again, if you do leave one of those questions, please become a public subscriber first, because I always put them to the front of the line and give them priority, because I get so many comments, so many questions. It's hard for me to answer them all in the limited amount of time that I have to do videos. So guys, I really appreciate it, and have a great day.